This conference will now be recorded.
Very good morning to all. Thanks for your patience and appreciate your time for joining this demo session. My name is Ravi Kumar. So I'll be the trainer and I'll be taking care of this entire Azure administration training. I'll just give a quick introduction about myself. Right. I have 10 years of experience in IT industry on consulting, implementing, and administration of Microsoft and VMware products. So I take care of cloud services like Azure implementation and migration from on-prem to Azure, as well as Azure Active Directory and Office 365 implementation, migration from Exchange to cloud or from any other email system to Office 365. And also in virtualization, I take care of VMware implementation, administration, and also with respect to the Microsoft product, I take care of Hyper-V implementation and administration, as well as any services like Active Directory, DNS, and WDS or WSES with related to the Microsoft. I take care of it. Right. So this is a quick introduction about myself. Yeah. Let's get started. Before that, if you have not provided your email address and your contact details, right, the phone number, I would request you to ping separately to the organizer so that like we can keep it in reference for any future communication. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So if I'm going fast or you want me to repeat anything, you can stop me anytime and you can ask me the questions, right? Okay, let's get started. So this course is about the Azure administration. So wherein we'll be dealing with AZ104. AZ104, wherein in Microsoft Azure there are two tracks. One is development and the other one is on the administration. So in this entire series, we'll be discussing about the Azure administration, right? So after completing this course, you'll be able to take AZ104 certification. Yeah. So about this course, it's an online course, right? So it runs from Monday to Friday, every day 1 hour or plus or minus based on the lab. Okay. And it consists of 15 modules, right? So we'll be covering from the scratch on cloud computing as well as Microsoft Azure and what all the services, how you're going to use like the subscription, how you're going to create the subscription, how you're going to manage it, and how you're going to create the virtual machine and how you're going to handle it. And also how do you work with a new requirement, getting on the quotation or any other pricing perspective using the Azure calculator. And also we'll be dealing with the storage. How do you create the storage? How do you manage the storage? How do you control your storage? And how do you access it? And about the networking, right? So networking is one of the core component, not only in Azure, so any on-prem as well as in the cloud, right? So whenever we host any services, how you're going to connect each other. So here we'll be seeing what is Azure virtual network and how you're going to create the network, how you're going to connect the network, and how do you connect your cloud to your on-prem or cloud to the another cloud, right? And also like how do you connect the networks, like how do you enable the peering between virtual networks running in Azure, and also on the Azure load balancer, and also on the traffic manager, right? So these are the components we cover in networking part. And also what will be the basic or the general administration task in your day-to-day activities with respect to the virtual machines, right? So we'll be working on it. And also we'll be discussing and we'll be working on availability services. So what availability services available in Microsoft Azure. So we are going to work with that. And also like how do you control your traffic flow using the network security group to your entire network or to a specific virtual machine. We'll be covering in network security group. And also like two topics we'll be covering on the PaaS service. So implementation of app service as a PaaS, and also the SQL database will be creating and will be understanding how we can work on it. And also we'll be discussing on the recovery service. So that is also one of the core component, like how we are going to use the Microsoft or any cloud solution, in this case, the Microsoft Azure, as a recovery services, right? So you host your service in on-prem. How do you secure your data, keep your backup data in cloud, or create a disaster recovery site in Azure, right? So we'll be covering completely on protecting your workloads running in on-prem as well as running in Azure. And also we'll be seeing this identity and access management, wherein how you're going to implement your on-premises Active Directory service with Azure Active Directory using the AD Connect tool, right? And also we'll be discussing about what is Azure Active Directory Premium and how do you configure your custom domain in Azure, and also like how do you enable the two-factor or the multi-factor authentication to your tenant, right? And last two topics will be covering how do you monitor the services or workload running in Azure, or even how do you monitor the services running in on-prem using the Azure monitoring tool, and also the troubleshooting with respect to the virtual machine connectivity, reachability, right? So these are the issues wherein we'll be discussing. So this is the complete 15 modules. So wherein it goes up to 30 plus hours, right? So every day we'll cover one and a half or 1 hour 15 minutes. So this will be completely theory and practical oriented session, right? So whatever we discuss here, 95% we'll do the practicals as well. So I'll showcase the practical in my system, and same thing like you'll be able to practice in your system, right? So this is the introduction about the course. If you have any doubt, any questions, let me know. You can type in chat box or you can unmute yourself and you can ask.
Hi, Ravi. This is Imran. One question. So when you start the class, right? This is the first demo session, but when you start the actual session, is it going to be the same time or the time will change?
Timing will be changed. So based on everyone's availability, right? So we'll plan for the batches.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm in the US East Coast, so
okay.
9 a.m. Indian time is like 11:30 p.m. here. So if we can start 1 hour early, that will be great.
Sure. So usually we will be planning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So in between, based on everyone availability, we'll plan it because everyone will be working, right? So either we'll be planning on 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or before that.
Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, thank you.
So timing part, don't worry. Like we'll plan accordingly based on the availability. Like we can split or we can have a single batch. That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Hey Ravi, I'm Pashupati here. So this Azure administrator is different from Azure networking architect, or is it same?
Okay. See, administration covers on the networking part as well, right? So we'll be covering completely on compute, networking, and storage. But we'll be covering the key components like the networking implementation like VNet, subnet, and the connection of the networks like peering, and also with the site-to-site or point-to-site VPN connection, and also the load balancer, and as well as on the traffic manager, right? So these are the components we'll cover. So if anything else you require, so we can include in that topic.
Okay, and I have one more question. So basically, I'm new to Azure, so I don't have any programming knowledge. So basically, I'm from the testing background. So just wanted to take a switch over. So I thought Azure would be the best option. So what would be the better choice, whether Azure admin or network, or which one is the right option? And I don't have that much programming background.
Okay, got it. It's a good question, right? So like most of them are from different domain, and or like most of them will be on the same infrastructure background or development domain or from non-IT, or like they're freshers, right? So the cloud computing is very good start for anyone who doesn't know anything on the IT infrastructure part. Like I mean to say the fresher, yes, cloud computing can start. And also there is no need of coding experience is required, but still as an industry they expect you to run some sort of scripts and automation, but as and when you start working you should learn, right? So that is what I suggest. I doesn't mean that like don't learn coding, but not the complete coding. For your administration, wherein you should be able to write some commands or scripts or the templates to execute it. But anyways, like as day goes on you can learn and adapt it, right? So cloud is a good start for fresher, and whoever is very new to the domain, yes, that is also a good start. And if you are in different background, or if you are an expertise in data center management, or in development, or in networking, storage, right? So whatever, the cloud computing is a good start. So Azure administration is purely on administration. So there is no coding here, right? So you're not developing anything, but whatever has been developed, you are going to administer it, right? So you're going to create a space for the developer to host their services, right? So to run their services, you'll be hosting the services, okay? So, but there are some prerequisites wherein you start learning on it, what is virtualization, what is networking, and what is storage, right? And how do you manage the operating system, right? So these are the prerequisites. So, like if you doesn't have any experience, but you should start learning the basics, right? So just understand the concept, so that will help you to manage it, because you'll be core component working on the networking part, you'll be working on operating system part, you'll be working on storage part. But here it's not like an end-to-end implementation, right? So it is completely a software-defined data center. So any cloud computing, if you take, it's a software-defined data center. So everything works on a virtualization platform, right? So you create a virtual machine, virtual network, virtual storage, and other appliances and platform as a services, right? Don't worry, coding experience is not required, but I would suggest start learning some scripting like PowerShell or any other language you like, right? That will help you in your career to perform your day-to-day activity.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. And one last question. So, how is the
Yes.
market for the beginners? So I'm just taking this course, and I hope our team will help you on the resume. How is the market for the beginners or the freshers?
Okay. So when we talk about the market, right? So there are three major players in cloud computing, right? So Azure, AWS, and Google, right? So AWS was earlier leading the market. Now Azure has been taken over, right? Even there, like we can see a lot of job opportunities where the organizations are moving towards Azure, right? So fresher, the cloud is not very old, right? So we started adopting the cloud like from past 10 years, not beyond that. Like we can say from past 5 years, we are using much, right? So freshers, yes, it's a good start. And also, like if you have experience in different domain and you know the cloud computing, yes, that's also a good start. Yes, market is good. With 2 years, 3 years, 5 years experience, yes, they're looking at. But definitely, the future of the IT for next 10 years, we can say the cloud computing runs really good. So it's a good time to start cloud computing. That's what I'm telling. And also one more thing, if you are good in one particular cloud technology, right? So you can manage other cloud as well. What I meant to say is all the cloud computing, right? So like Azure, AWS, or Google, they work on a single architecture, right? So there is no different architecture. The baselines are different, same, and but here and there we use a different name, and the options and a few things are differs, and also the costing will vary. Apart from that, the base architecture is same, right? So if you are good in Azure, so the same thing you can manage in AWS as well, but the UI console matters. That's it, nothing much. Like how do you operate your Windows computer, Linux computer, or a Mac, right? So all works on a single thing, but the usage varies. That's it.
Thanks, Ravi. Thank you so much.
Hey Ravi, I don't want to take much of your time, but just a quick question.
Sure.
So when you're taking a class, do you expect us to take notes, or will you be sharing the the class notes later on?
Okay, cool. That's a good question. Okay, see, the entire training will be recorded, right? So the recording will be shared with you. So probably you need to download it. Okay. So the entire session will be recorded, so you can keep it for your future reference. And same time, whatever the PPTs or whatever the documents I run, I'll be sharing those contents. You need not to worry. Apart from that, if you require anything, you can ask me anytime, so I can share with you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi Ravi, this is Sai.
Yeah, hi Sai.
Ravi, I had a multiple questions. Actually, you said per day it will be a 1 hour class, right? So how many hours it will be calculated for whole topics, 15 topics?
Yeah, so 15 topics, it covers up to 30 hours, right? So you can take Monday to Friday
Okay.
months. It will take 40, 45 days to complete.
Okay. And you said about recorded videos will be shared to each and everyone. That should be for any limited period, like only for few days access, or we are able to complete access.
No, you can download it. You can keep it in your local drive.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So shall we proceed with our next? All right. Yeah. So I would request you again, if at all, if you have not dropped your email ID and phone number, please chat separately to the organizer so that we can get back to you for any questions or for the upcoming meetings, links and other things. All right. So today we'll just start with the basics, right? So I'll just run with the one slide, so which talks very basics about the cloud computing, and also it will be informative for you. Just a minute.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Pawan. Yeah, Pawan.
Yeah, hi, Ravi. Ravi, do you provide classes for weekend as well, Saturday, Sunday, or only
Usually
weekdays?
weekdays only, but if at all, if everyone are comfortable for Saturday, we can extend for Saturday. If not, Monday to Friday we'll cover it up.
Okay, okay. So we can do that also.
Yes.
And as you know, you are going to start from basic, right? So there are 900 104 fundamentals, cloud fundamental and admin part, right? You are going to cover.
Okay. All right. So hold on. I'll come to there. One second. I have one slide. I just covered that.
Right, because there are two different part, admin and development. So I'm talking about the admin part. I'm
Yes,
interested
yes,
in
admin.
admin.
Yes, yes. We're covering only admin. I'm covering only admin in this training. No
All right.
development.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So before we start, I just cover one slide which talks about the Microsoft Azure certification part. Certification is also one of the important components, right? So any organization, they'll be looking for a certified professional, right? Yeah. And also this talks about the upcoming growth, like how do you want to grow in cloud computing or in Microsoft Azure.
Right.
So this is the certification part. So wherein there is two main part, right? So one is the administration part, what we are going to discuss in the entire training, and the second one is the development part. Okay. So in this, the basic paper or the basic course for cloud computing, the entry level course is AZ 900, right? So this talks about the basics of cloud computing and as well as Azure fundamentals, but this is an optional paper, right? So need not to worry. So whatever the topics are here in the AZ 900, I'll be covering it up. Like we'll start with what is virtual network and what is a virtual machine, right? Then we'll start how to use and what to work on the cloud. Okay. So this is the basic paper, right? So this is an optional. So you need not to take this certification as well. If you want, you can write it, right? So again, it's like you're spending money, that's it. But we are going to cover this easy 103, which is an administration paper, right? So now this paper code is called 104, right? So they've included and they've removed some topics. But anyways, I'll be covering both AZ 103 and 104. Okay, so this is a new paper code which has been they have revised the syllabus by this year. So due to this COVID, they have been postponed the AZ 103. Means it is available till August, I think so, this month end for certification. And also you have AZ 104 certification as well. You can take any one. Okay, yeah. So this is the course what we are covering. So the same syllabus have been shown up in the sheet, right? So whatever the 15 topics we have covered, so that is from the AZ 104 as well as 103 combination of that. So after completing this paper, right? So you can take a certification of 103 or 104. So I would recommend go to 104. So with that, you'll be certified as a Microsoft Azure Administrator Associate, right? So you'll be certified as a Microsoft Azure Administrator. Okay. And for development, there is a different paper code and there is a different track, which is AZ203 is the old paper code, and they have revised the name as an AZ204, right? So now it's called AZ204. Both are there. Okay, so this is purely on the development part. So once you like if you take this as a separate training track and if you complete your certification, so then you will be an Azure Developer Associate, right? So this is the other track. And suppose, right, like if you are interested in like partially development as well as administration, like as an you want to make your career as an DevOps engineer, then you can take AZ400 is a separate course which talks about the DevOps part, right? So partially on the development and how do you support the developers to deploy their services. So those stuff. So along with AZ104, if you cover AZ400, so you'll be become an Azure DevOps engineer, right? So this is a basic entry level. Okay, and Azure Administrator is an entry level for your Azure, so you'll understand from the scratch. And once you are having an experience in Azure, so next you can look into an this one, what do you say, architect level, right? So there is a different track for architect. So AZ300, now it's called AZ303, and AZ301, now it is called AZ304, right? So these are the two separate papers. So where if you cover those two, then you'll be certified as a Microsoft Solution Architect, right? Azure Solution Architect. Okay, so this is the career part, right? So if you are looking how to plan your career, so based on this, you can plan accordingly.
Okay, thanks, Ravi.
Okay. Yeah.
And Ravi, one more thing I would like to ask, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please go ahead.
As you know, Office, yeah, Office 365. Is it about Office 365? So do you provide for coaching for that also, or that is completely different? Teachers will manage.
Okay. See, Office 365, even I do take training, but in this course, that topic is not involved. But if you want Office 365, you can talk to our coordinator. We can plan accordingly. No issues.
All right. Thanks. So you can proceed for Azure. All right.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Sure. Please give your information privately to the Visualpath or the organizer. Don't chat on the general screen with your contact details. All right. That's fine. So just cover before going to the other slide. I'll just give a brief introduction. So what will be a cloud administrator role, right? So basically, a cloud administrator will be managing the services running on cloud, right? The compute services like virtual machine, network, storage, creation, monitoring, and also decommissioning, right? So those the complete IT life cycle we do, like developing, deployment, testing, running, and decommissioning part. And also we'll be getting an end user request to provision and services like creating a workloads like virtual machine or deploying a services like network, storage, and also they come up with some requests, right? So based on their requirement, we will analyze what best you can offer, right? So there are different services available in the cloud. So what is the best services that you can offer to your customers? So you'll be recommending that. Okay, and also we will be managing the Azure or Azure administration through the UI portal, through the web-based portal. Also, you can manage your Azure using the command line utility, either through the PowerShell or through the Azure CLI. You'll be communicating with that. Yeah, as a successful administrator, like you will be managing the operating system. So you should have an hands-on with Windows as well as Linux. But if you don't know, that's fine. But you should start learning, right? Along with this course, like at least basic, right? So we don't go in depth on the operating system management, right? So unless until if something is required. So our job to create a virtual machine and hand over to the end user. So you should be able to get the VM deployed and able to get the credentials created and give to the end user so that he can log in and he can access from there. Okay. So as a prerequisites, as I told you, right? So you should know what is virtualization is, because the entire cloud runs on a virtualized platform, right? So there is no physical hardware. So everything will, when physical hardware will be there, and what we are interacting will be a software defined, right? So completely on a backend, it will be running on virtualization platform. So you should know what is virtualization is, what is virtual disk, what is virtual network, what is virtual machine, and base idea you should know about it. And also you should know about the networking, right? So networking is one of the core component, right? So you should start learning on it. So networking not very in depth, right? So you are not going to configure any router or any things. So here, what you require to be have a configuration you'll be setting up, right? So to know that Means to do that, you should know what is the things, right? Like what is IP addressing, what is subnetting. When you say /24, how many host IP you'll get, how many network IP you'll get. So that basic things. Okay. Don't worry. Like if you need anything on the documentation part, or if you need any information, I can help you out with that. But you should start learning on it. Okay. And also you should know about what is resiliency, what is disaster recovery, and what is backup and recovery service, right? So because we will be using one of the part in cloud, means I run my infrastructure in my premises, but I don't want to move everything to cloud, right? So what I will do, I required my backup data to store in cloud, or my business continuity plan, my disaster recovery site has to be created in the cloud, right? So you'll be setting up in that, right? So you should know what is backup and what is disaster recovery, why we use, and what is the requirement of it, how critical is it, right? So those things should be knowing it. Okay. So this is the objective what we are going to cover. So I'm just whatever I've gone through this modules, I'll just go through it once again. So here you'll be learning how do you manage your Azure using the portal, Cloud Shell, as well as we'll be discussing something called automation, which is ARM templates, right? So that is also a coding part of thing. But yes, we will understand so that we can get the code, get the template, and we should be able to manage it, right? So I'll train you to that. And also we'll be dealing with the virtual machines, how to create the virtual machine, how do you manage it, and also the storage, how do you create the storage, how do you manage it. And also networking, like how do you create the network, how do you plan, and how do you connect the networks when you run the resources running in different regions, right? And also how do you control your inflow, outflow traffic with a specific allowing or blocking, okay? And also we'll be discussing about backing up of your data in on-prem, cloud, okay? And also we'll be seeing how do you connect the virtual networks running in on-prem and Azure using the VPN. And also we'll be discussing about the traffic manager, what is traffic manager, how we are going to configure, right? And also we'll see example or the use case, how it is being used. And also we'll be dealing with the billing part, right? So that is one of the key component, whatever you run. So end of the day, you are accountable for that. Like how do you create, how do you manage, how do you get your estimation? And also as a part of identity and access management, how you're going to implement your on-prem Active Directory as a part of single sign-on to your Azure infrastructure, as well as like how do you use your Azure to integrate with some third-party single sign-on, means third-party application single sign-on, right? So these are the things what we are going to cover it up. Okay. So I'll just move to the next slide. Yeah. So in this slide, we'll be discussing about the overview of cloud computing. So in this, we'll get to know idea about, okay, what is the cloud computing? Like you might have been heard, but still, I'll just run through it. So whoever doesn't know, or like whoever has some doubts, so they get clarification on this. Okay, so in this module, we'll be covering what is cloud computing and what are the benefits of cloud computing and types of cloud computing and types of cloud services like available in Azure or any cloud, right? So till here, it's common for all the cloud, right? So till this 4 topics, it's common for all the cloud. And next we'll be discussing what is Microsoft Azure and what are the benefits, why we are looking to only to go to the Microsoft Azure, right? So how it works we'll be discussing. Okay, so first question, what is cloud computing, right? So in this case, when we hear the word cloud computing in now, we always think about the public cloud like Azure, AWS, Google, right? So that is what we think now. So when you say compute, right? So compute is nothing but, you can take example your computer. So what are the components we have? We have memory, we have a processor, we have a network, we have a storage, right? So these are the base components wherein you install the operating system, you run your application, and you make use of your compute, right? So same thing when we talk about in a huge environment, like in your office environment or any other services what we are going to use, right? So wherein we'll be using more servers, right? So we'll be using more servers and we'll be deploying the services out of it, and wherein we use the compute power to run your services. So the cloud computing has been emerged, right? with the help of virtualization, right? So virtualization is one of the core architecture what has been used for cloud computing. And also cloud computing, we can say you're grouping up your hardware, and then you are isolating or you're dedicating the certain resources to run your specific application. Okay, means you're taking the advantage of the virtualization and to run your multiple application across the compute, right? So we can say cloud computing can be defined as a delivering the compute power, right? So CPU, RAM, network, storage, as well as operating system, right, over a network, right? So in this case, we use in our on-prem, but when we talk about the public cloud, so this particular services is running in the vendor platform, means on the vendor like Microsoft, AWS, or Google. So the compute services we are going to use on their physical devices over the network, right? So that we can say as a public cloud computing, or we can say it as a cloud computing. So using the compute power or a service over the network, usually on the internet, rather than running physically having the compute resources at your location. Means like you're not running your resources in your premises. Instead, you're running or you're utilizing the services running in the vendor environment, right? So that we can say it as a cloud computing. So now, what is the advantage, right? So why do you want to move to the cloud? You can run your infrastructure in your premises, right? And also, like you might have already infrastructure is set up. Why do you want to move to cloud, or why do you want to create new services in cloud, right? Why do you think you want to move to the cloud, right? So let's see what are the benefits of cloud computing. So first thing, right? So let's take example. I want to start a business, right? So I want to start up an e-commerce portal. So what I'm going to do, I want to host my website, right? So for that, if you see the traditional way, I require a data center. In that data center, I require the required components like power source and cooling, and I require the server racks, I require servers, and I require a storage, I require a network device, I require a security device, right? And also I require a backup for power, and same time I require a skilled workforce to deploy everything and manage it, right? So wherein I need to invest a lot of money over here to procure the device, and to procure you need to wait for some time wherein you need to get your financial approvals. Once your budget is approved, then you're going to place a procurement, and then it will take some time to get your hardware shipped to your place, then implementation, everything, and host your services, right? So here you are spending a lot of money and a lot of time to host your service. And suppose you started your business and for some reason you want to shut down in 2 months, right? So what will happen? So in that case, whatever you have invested, it goes under loss, right? So you'll be losing huge money. So now if I want to do the same thing in a cloud, right? So cloud, you need not to wait for a long time to get the things procured and deploy your services. You create your account today by using your credit card, and you can start hosting your services in minutes, right? So as soon as you create your account, you can start your services in cloud. So you require a virtual server? Yes, create a server with whatever the configuration, whatever the operating system you want, you create it. And if your code is ready, yes, you can host your website on the go, right? So from day one, you can host your website and you can be live on your business. And suppose after 2 months you decide to shut down, yes, you can decommission anytime, right? So there is no limitation. So in this case, from the time you started, the time you decommission, right? So whatever the duration you have been used and whatever the services you have been used, you'll be charged only for that, right? So in that case, I need not to worry much, right? So I need not to worry on power or the hardware procurement and investing huge money, right? So I just take the subscription. I start serving I start running my services. It runs well and good. If it doesn't run, so you can shut down anytime, right? You can save a lot of costs. So this is also one of the parameter wherein you'll be looking towards cloud. And yeah, so there are many other situations wherein you'll be looking towards the cloud. Let's see one by one. Okay, the potential for cost saving is the major reason of cloud computing services adoption by many organizations, right? So main thing is cost optimization, or saving your cost. You're moving towards cloud. So cloud computing gives the freedom to use the services as per the requirement and pay only for what you use, right? So it's a straightforward. So whatever you want, right? So you can get the services, and then you can pay only what you have been used. Okay. So due to cloud computing, it has become possible to run IT operations as the outsourced unit without much in-house resource. Means, if I want to run something, I don't want to worry much and keep the resources in my premises and host, right? So I can directly host everything in the cloud. Okay. Yeah. So the benefits are lower the IT infrastructure and compute cost for users. So one of the use case we have discussed, and also improve performance, right? So when we talk about running your services in cloud, so that means that whatever the performance you get in your on-prem, you get same or more than that, not less than that, right? So you get a very good performance of whatever the services you run in Azure. Okay. And also the maintenance part, right? So when it comes to maintenance, it can be unplanned and unplanned maintenance. So wherein it will be very, very minimal when you run in cloud, right? So you don't have to worry on planned and unplanned maintenance. It will be very minimal. And also with the software updates, right? So any updates to the firmware or anything, right? So that will be taken care by the vendor. You need not to worry on that. And also like improved compatibility between the operating system. Means whatever the operating system you host in your enterprise environment, you can host the or like all the flavors of operating system in cloud. And also backup and recovery, right? So as I told you, now you are running your business on-prem, right? So data is very critical, right? So what you will do, your important data, you're going to back it up to a tape drive, and that tape drive you're going to keep in a safe place wherein any physical disaster like fire or flood or any physical disaster wherein you should not lose your data, right? So you'll ship it to a different place, and as and when it is required, you're going to recover it from there, right? So it's a lengthy process. You will invest a lot of money. So instead of that, what you can do, you can back up your critical data to cloud. So your will be worry free. Okay, so that is one thing. And also the disaster recovery, as I told you, right? So now I'm running my data center. So if something goes down in data center, so I should have a disaster recovery side, right? So any organization, they run their business, so they will have a business continuity plan, right? So for that, they'll be having a DR side. So if you don't have any physical infrastructure, what you can do, you can replicate your workloads from on-premises to Microsoft Azure. In Azure, you can use that as a disaster recovery, right? So whenever your on-premises is down, you can use your disaster recovery side like the Azure. You can turn on the services and you can have your business continuity, right? So this is also one of the use case wherein you'll be using the cloud computing. And performance and scalability, right? So scalable, the Azure is always scalable, or any cloud computing is scalable. So whatever the number of VMs you want, you can go. Whatever the storage capacity you want to go, you can go, right? So whatever the means, it's a scalable model. And also the data is safety, right? So now the concern is when you're keeping your data in my system, so you worry, right? So what will happen if someone who is accessing my system can access your data, right? And also when you're transferring your data from your premises to my system, right? So there could be someone who can capture the data, right? So data safety is one of the critical part. So any data which you're uploading to Microsoft Azure or any data which you're going to store in Microsoft Azure will be encrypted. So you need not to worry. Only you are the owner can decrypt and encrypt the data, right? So these are the benefits. So with this particular benefits, wherein the organizations are looking to move towards a cloud, right? So next slide, we can see when you compare your on-prem and the cloud computing, how the costing perspective will work, right? So when you see the on-prem, it's a thicker, and the cloud is very thinner, right? So in on-prem, if you want to run, you need to have your implementation, like you need to have your data center, you need to have your IT hardware, you need to have an IT person to get this everything to be implemented, and you will be going with a lot of maintenance, and also you need to train your engineers to work on your hardware or software or whatever. And also you'll be working on the licensing part, right? Like if you want to run like Windows Server, you need to buy the license, you need to maintain a lot of things. And also one of the use case we can say, like every 3 years, right? So 3 years, 5 years, we use the hardware, and again it will come for a refresh, wherein we have to release the old hardware and procure the new one. And also when it comes to software, yes, like there will be a new versions of the software will be coming, like Windows Server 2012, 2016, 2019, right? So each and every time you need to buy the different versions. So when it comes to cloud, everything works on a subscription model. So what you subscribe, what is the duration you're using, right? You pay only for it. Okay, so that's how the cloud computing will work. But actually, in say the okay, I'm sorry, I can say some name. Okay, is my audio? Is I'm audible?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Venu, I guess there is some issue with your audio. Can you please check it once?
Yeah, Ravi, I'm able to audible right now. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right, thank you. Sorry, I just saw your chat now. Okay, cool. So cloud computing, right? So when it say you can save cost, but if you see a real fact, cloud is also not cheaper. Where it is also costlier, right? So whatever you run in your on-prem, so same infrastructure is required in cloud also. But only thing wherein when you're running as a huge infrastructure, yes, it will be an heavier for you. When you're running it as a lighter infrastructure, right? So it will be cheap because you'll be sharing the resources, right? So that is how it works. But when you run in a huge, yes, you'll be it works costlier. But whatever the other parameters you see, right? Like investment in other place, like investing on the engineers, the number of engineers who want to manage your infrastructure, and also the hardware refresh, software refresh, and all, right? So when you see that, so this works cheaper, and also this works like an straightforward billing model, right? So I use this service for so and so duration. Okay, this is my cost. Whether you're agree, okay, go for it, or else look for an alternate solution. Okay, that's how it works. All right, so let's move to the next slide, which is types of cloud computing, right? So this is one of the key thing wherein what are the types of cloud services we are able to use or we are availing it. Okay, so there are four types. In that, majorly we use three types. So in that, majorly we use one and other one as well. So we'll see what all. Okay. So first thing is private cloud, right? So what is private cloud? So private cloud is nothing but running the IT infrastructure in your premises, wherein you are managing from end to end, right? So from your data center till to the application end. So any issues, implementation, right? So everything will be taken care of. Means wherein this infrastructure can be running in your office premises, means in your office data center. And sometimes most of the organization, they use a shared data center, right? So you'll have some shared space where you'll be having your servers and rack and whatever, you'll be using it there, right? So wherein you are managing from end to end, right? So that we call it as a private cloud. Private cloud is nothing but it is only your premises wherein you are running your services. Okay. So simple example is your data center is your private cloud. Okay, wherein your data center only you can access, but I can't deploy any my services in your data center, right? So that is only private to you. Okay, so public data center, or we can say it is public cloud, is nothing but the data center which has been shared among the public, right? So Azure, AWS, and Google, wherein those guys are called as a public cloud. So wherein if you want to host your service, what you can do, you can create your account and you can start deploying your services and you can start using it, right? So public cloud are nothing but the infrastructure is available among the public, so anyone can use the infrastructure and they can pay with whatever they are going to use, right? So that is called public cloud. And the main thing is the hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is nothing but the combination of public cloud and private cloud, right? So when you tie this together as a single cloud, we call it as a hybrid cloud. Means you have your data center, you are running your services in your data center, and same time you have your public cloud, like you have an Azure subscription, you are running some services in Azure. So now you are connecting your data center to Azure, means you're extending your data center to Azure, means you connect your Azure and your on-prem. Okay, so once you connect, what you can do, you can communicate, means you can interact with the public cloud, or public cloud can interact with your data center in order to access the data. So one simple example we can take, example of this Prime Video, right? So we use this Prime Video. So nowadays, whatever the application we see, they run in multi-tier, right? So the front end will be a different component, and the back end will be a different component, and middleware will be a different component. So if you take the same example, the front end web page, when you type primevideo.com, right? So wherein you'll be accessing your front end web page, right? So that will be running on your just an example. So front end web services you can host in your public cloud in Azure. The web services can run in Azure. So the backend database, which consists of all your videos, right? So that can be running in your private cloud. Means the backend database can run in the private cloud. So wherein this database is connected to your front end. So as and when if someone is accessing this website, right? So whenever you're trying to stream some video, so this website is going to get the data from your on-premises, and it's going to showcase you the data, right? So this is, we can take it as an example as hybrid cloud. So wherein you are interact or where you are connecting your on-premises with your Azure, okay? And nowadays we don't see this hybrid. Means we see the hybrid. Along with that, we see multi-cloud environment. Means you run your data center. Along with that, you will have some workloads running in Microsoft Azure, and also you'll have some workloads running in AWS, and also you'll have some workload running in any other cloud. Okay, so wherein you have your workloads running in different clouds, and all these clouds will be connected together. Means from on-premises you'll be connected to Azure, Azure will be connected to on-prem. So example is in this way. Okay, so this is your on-prem data center, and this is your Azure, and this is your AWS. Okay, and this is your Google. Okay, let's take this as an example. This is your on-prem, and this is your Google Cloud, and this is your AWS, Azure, right? So you have your workloads created and running in multiple clouds. Now, these clouds will be connected to each other. So on-premise is connected to the Azure, and the on-premise is connected to your AWS, and then your on-prem is connected to the Google. Same time, the Google is connected to AWS, Google is connected to Azure, and Azure is connected to AWS. Means like all the clouds will be connected each other. Means that depends upon how do you architect or how do you want to have the connection, right? So you will plan accordingly and you will connect each other. So with this, what will happen? Wherein you are running your infrastructure in different cloud, and we call this as a multi-cloud environment, right? So this is what we see in today's scenario. Also, like there are different products wherein in order to manage your on-prem and Azure, AWS, and Google, you'll be going to the different console. So there are different players wherein you can combine everything and you can see in a single console. And also there are products available wherein you can compare the cost. If I run a workload in AWS, what is the cost, and the same workload, what is the cost in AWS, Azure, and Google, right? So based on that, you can migrate your workloads here and there, right? So you can optimize your cost. That is also the thing what we can see in the today's market. Okay, that's fine. So this for the multi-cloud, what you can really see in real time. So I've seen in most of the clients, they run their workload in AWS, Azure, and as well as on-prem. Yes. So this is about types of cloud computing. So next we'll cover the types of clouds. So in this types, there are three major types what we are going to use. Right? So the first type is called infrastructure as a service. It's called as an IaaS. And second one is called PaaS, platform as a service. And the third one is called SaaS, software as a service. Right? So these are the three type of major services we can see. But nowadays we can see everything as a service. Right? So okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's understand what is IaaS, what is PaaS, and what is SaaS. Okay, by comparing with our on-premises. Means if you run a service in on-prem, how it looks in an IaaS, and how it looks in a PaaS, and how it looks in a SaaS. Okay, we'll compare. So now let's take an example. You are running an database server, right? You want to run a database, you require a database and you want to host your database service. So let's see how we can run in on-premises infrastructure wherein you're taking care of end-to-end solution. Okay, so in this case, if you want to run, right? So if you want to run a server, so first thing you require a network, right? So you require networking, you require storage, right, to keep your data, and you require a physical servers to host your services. And nowadays we don't host the service like one service in one hardware, right? So we use virtualization so that we can use the hardware to run multiple services or multiple operating system or multiple guest virtual machines. So we'll be installing a virtualization, the hypervisor layer, and on top of that you'll be creating your server, right? So which is called as a virtual machine, right? So you'll install the operating system, and on the top of operating system you'll be installing your SQL database. Let's take example, you want to host a database, so you'll be installing a Windows Server operating system. You'll be installing Microsoft SQL Server on that, and then you're going to create your database and you will manage your applications, right? So this is how it looks when you run a database server in your on-premises in a traditional way. So here, any issues with respect to your data center, any issues with respect to the network, storage, server, virtualization, OS, and your database, right? So here you are going to take care of each and every component, right? So you are the owner for each and every component, you will be addressing it. Okay, so same thing if I want to use a service in Azure. So there are three different models, right? So one we take example as IaaS. So if you want to host your database in a same way, you can do it, right? So here the same infrastructure will be there in the cloud as well, right? So the cloud means the vendor will also have the network, storage, server, virtualization, right? So till here, the vendor is going to manage. It means how do you have your on-prem? The same premises or the same infrastructure will be there in the cloud, right? So here, wherein there will be an agreement between you and the vendor, means the customer and the vendor. So vendor is nothing but the Microsoft Azure, right? So wherein Microsoft Azure is going to take care of a few components in each type of service, and then from on top of it, so from there the customer is going to take care, right? So the data center part and their infrastructure part and their virtualization, their network, their storage, right? So everything will be taken care by the vendor, right? So in IaaS platform, in infrastructure as a service, okay, so wherein vendor is going to take care till here, okay. So now what is your requirement? You need a Windows server to create your database and to use your database. So you do the same thing. I go to the Azure portal and I'll say I require Windows server. This is the course and this is the RAM and this is the hardware and this is the operating system, right? So you will say this and you'll get a virtual machine and you will log into that. And on top of that, you'll be installing your the middleware and runtime application. Like you will install your SQL server and then you'll create your database instance and you're going to manage it, right? So in this case, so wherein you are going to take care from the operating system onwards, right? So like how I have logged into my laptop, so same way you will log into your virtual machine and you will install the required software and then you will manage from there. So any issues from here, from logging into the application, that will be taken care by the customer. If something goes wrong with this hardware, what I will do, I take this laptop to my vendor and I'll get it repaired, right? So same way, so anything beyond your operating system, so that will be taken care by the Microsoft Azure, right? So this is an infrastructure as a model, how the database service will be used. So same thing when we compare with the next model, which is called platform as a service, right? So in this case, what will happen? Few more steps will be taken care by the vendor, right? So Microsoft Azure is going to take care, as comparing to the IaaS, they are going to take care of few more steps, and only you will be monitoring or you'll be managing your platform level, right? So if you take the same thing, database, right? So my requirement is I require a database instance to keep my data, right? So I don't want to worry about the database application. I don't want to worry about the server operating system. I don't want to worry about anything beyond that, right? So what I can do, I can directly create a database in Microsoft Azure, right? So I don't worry anything beyond that. I say I require a SQL database. The database will be created. I will connect to the database and I will dump in data. Okay, anything beyond that, I don't worry. But still, when you create an instance on a background. It requires some database runtime application, the SQL application, and also that requires an operating system. To run your operating system, you require an infrastructure, right? So everything will be there, but the vendor is going to manage some level, and beyond that, we'll be managing in platform as a service. You'll be managing only the platform, not the beyond the hardware, right? So this part, whichever is there in yellow, will be taken care by the vendor. So here, what you're going to do, you're going to create a database instance, and you start using the database instance. That's it. So that is called platform as a service. Okay. So when it comes to a software as a service, right? So software as a service, we can take example as an Office 365 is one of the software as a service, and also Dynamics CRM, and there are a few more software as a service. Okay, so here you are not worrying anything, right? So what is required, you're going to use it straightforward. Okay, so we'll take example that you want to run an email service in your premises. So what you're going to do, you're going to run everything, right? So you require a networking, storage, server, virtualization. You require an operating system, so you install a Windows operating system, and on top of that, what you're going to do, you're going to install an email server, right? So which is called Microsoft Exchange server, means Microsoft email system. So I will install the Microsoft Exchange server here. Then I'll create the database for the mailbox to create. So I'll create a database here, mailbox database, and on top of that, I'll be creating the mailboxes, right? So here I want to maintain each and everything. But when it comes to software as a service, so I just create a mailbox for a user, and I will give the credentials to user to access it. It's simple, like how do you create your Google Mail or any mailbox, right? So by signing up, so same thing the administrator will do. He'll create a mailbox and he will give to the end user. So only your email flow configuration and the mailbox configuration you are going to take care. Beyond the mailbox, you will have a mailbox database, and beyond this database, you will have the email server or the Exchange services, and beyond that, you'll have an operating system, and beyond that, you'll have a server infrastructure, right? So those things will be taken care by the vendor. You just create the mailbox, you start using the service, right? So that is called software as a service. So in our entire training, we'll be dealing with the infrastructure as a service as well as platform as a service. Okay, yeah. So examples of IaaS and PaaS. Yeah, so IaaS is the same thing. Suppose if you want to host a website, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to create a virtual machine, either Windows or Linux. Let's take example, you're hosting on a Windows server. So you will create a Windows server with whatever the OS version you want. You will create it with whatever the configuration you want. Let's take example, I create a Windows server with 2012 R2 and with 8 GB RAM and 2 cores and 500 GB hard disk. In that, I will be manually installing the web services, like I'll be enabling the IaaS service, and then I'll be hosting that web services to the your internal or external, right? So here you're going to take care of OS and implementation of web services, and you can use it. So this is an example of IaaS, and same thing we just discussed about the database. So now my requirement is I want an website, web server, or web services to host the website. Okay. So in PaaS there is something called web app, right? So web application. So what you can do, you can straightforward create a web application, right? So there you need not to worry anything. You just create a website with whatever the configuration you want, and then you push your code, right? That's it. The website will be hosted. So beyond that, the web services and beyond that operating system, you are not going to take care. So that will be taken care by the Microsoft Azure. So you just launch the web services, which is called as a web app, and you will push your web code. That's it. Okay, so these are the two samples. So we discussed database as well as we discussed the website. So these are the two samples what you can consider for IaaS and PaaS. Okay, did I answer your question, Pamesh?
Not now. Hello? Not now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, all right. So we'll do one thing. We just hold on here, right? So with this, we covered about the introduction about the course and what all we are going to cover it up, and also we have covered the basics of cloud computing, right? So in next upcoming module, right? So in upcoming session, so we'll be discussing the overview of Microsoft Azure, why Microsoft Azure, and how you're going to use it, and overview of Microsoft Azure, right? So we'll discuss further on this, right? If you have any doubt, any questions, you can ask me. Okay.
So Ravi,
Okay.
one question. So how about the practice session lab? So will you provide the access to the lab once we've done the theory session?
Yeah. So what we will do is I'll help you out to create a free trial account. We'll not be providing anything, but I'll help you out to create a free trial account. Okay. So with that account, wherein whatever the services is available or whatever we are going to discuss, so we can cover all the topics. Only we'll not be able to do the on-premises. So I don't have any on-premises infrastructure. Apart from cloud, whatever we can spin, whatever we can manage, we can do it. I can say 90 to 95% you can do the practicals, and you will be doing it with your account.
So you are referring about the Azure portal.
Yeah, Azure portal, that's right.
Okay.
See, example is, so this is my portal. So this is how you'll be creating your account. So this is the free trial account. So same way you will also be creating. And you, whatever we discuss, so we'll be doing the lab here.
Okay, this is for 1 year or for how many? For 1 month.
See, basically 12 months they give some services free. But
Right.
when you create this account, you will get a credit, right? So you get a credit of $200 or 30,000 rupees. So with this cost, you can use it for 1 month, 30 days. So you can run this practicals for 1 month, means this account for 1 month. And afterwards, again, if you want, you can use a different phone number, different email ID, and different card. You can get one more account so that you can do it.
Yeah, with some different details, we can again activate the account.
Yes.
So I assign the machine E5, E3, whatever we want. Right.
Even if you will come for your Office 365, so here you will come across the subscription. Only the subscription with the credit amount.
Yeah, that I know. I do have free account on both.
Okay.
And one more thing I would like to ask, so don't you have your company accounts for practice purpose? I'm not talking about fraud. There are some institute or some companies who provide their own accounts, own login and credential for Azure for practical practice purpose only.
That's right. See what will happen. See, now here you're paying only the training cost, but those guys what they do, they include even the subscription. Even they don't give the unlimited access there. They will give you some credit amount. You'll be using it. That's right.
I think there might be some features different, or both are same in both the trial and company. Okay, both are same.
Yes. But there will be a limitation. Means like in trial account, what you can do in each region, you can run maximum 4 cores. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
You run a VM, run only 1 VM with 4 core or 4 VM with 1 core. And if you want to create one more VM, you need to create in a different region, right? So there is some limitation. Even they can't give everything on free, right? Because on a back end, even the hardware utilization will be done, right?
Right. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
And
but
what about
the same limitation with them also?
Okay, and what about practical? Like today you have covered up what are the courses, right? Theoretically portion, and practically when we are going to be cover practical session.
Sure. See, first module is completely theory part till here. Okay, whatever is there, we understand the baselines, and then the practicals. So one practical is like how do you use the PowerShell, right? So we'll be seeing bit practical here. How do you connect the PowerShell? We'll be working on it, and also we'll be working on Azure CLI, how to install and how to work. This is a small practical, and apart from that, deploying the virtual machine, right? So this will be practical, completely practical, and the ARM templates is also practical. And whatever you can see, the implementation of storage, right? So that will be practical. Everything will be practical oriented. Only thing, the on-prem to cloud integration, that part we'll discuss theory and only practical on the cloud end because I don't have on-prem infrastructure. So that is the only thing. I'll not be able to cover the practical. And also there is a question from Paramesh saying that migration part is covered. Yes, we'll talk about the migration, right? So what are the different ways you can migrate your on-premises workload to Azure? We discuss on it, but practicals, let's see. I'll showcase you different ways. In that one way, you can practice and you can do the lab migration part, lift and shift model. We can do it. But Azure Migrate, we require the public IP and we require on-prem and all, so that we'll not be able to do. But we'll cover the topics, theory part. And in one scenario, lift and shift, we can see the migration part as well.
Okay. Okay. So, so I want to know one thing, like whether you will be covering up any practical part for demo session, or it will be only done after registration, or in next class we're going to start the practical session.
Okay, got it. See, basically this demo session, wherein I'm not doing only a demo to to do the practicals and show you that. If you want, I can do that as well. So basically here, I'm just going to the step by step. So even I can pitch in, I can show you how to create the VM, how to create the load balancer, and all, right? So that will be covered on the
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if I run here, like people will get confused. So that's why I'm just going to the step by step so that they can easily understand.
Yeah, that yes. Yeah, you are right. Directly, if we go for the practical, so we cannot cover up. We are not clear about theoretical portion.
Exactly right. Exactly.
We will not be able to understand in a proper way.
Exactly. See, the main idea is whatever we are going to discuss, so you should be able to understand. So that's why even the flow is also kept in the same way. So we go each and everything by step by step. So one or two topics back and forth we go, not the entire model.
Okay. So you are working somewhere, sir?
Yeah, working.
Ravi. Okay. So you are working in which organization right now? You are working?
Yeah, working with one of the faculty organization.
Okay, not an issue. And sir, thanks a lot. Thanks very much. What is your class? What would be the class timing in big days? You told me that 1 hour. So what is the timing from starting or end, like so that we can plan?
Definitely. See, for the training schedule, right? So our coordinator will be getting in touch with everyone. So based on your availability, we can plan for a batch times.
Oh, that is fine. Because I want to know, like, we have a general shift 9 to 6, and we have from morning 9 to 6 p.m. and 1 hour it consumes. So I'm busy from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So do we have any session after that, after 7 or before 8? So do we have, or so that we could plan accordingly? If I got some idea from you, like.
See, basically we start from morning 7 to 9. Between this we'll plan, or like from 7 to 10, right? 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, any time. So we'll plan accordingly. Morning time, if at all, if everyone required evening time, then we can plan evening time as well.
All right.
So based on the availability, we can plan like either morning or evening. So it will be before 9 a.m. The batch will end before 9 a.m. and after 6 p.m. it will start. That's how we'll plan it.
Okay, and which institute do you belong? What is the institute name? Training Institute.
Visualpath. So you're connected with the Visualpath.
Yeah, right. And we have some WhatsApp number, so we can make our query over there. So on that number can we call also if we want to discuss. Do we have any call number?
Yeah. Sure. See, you leave your phone number and email address, so you'll be getting a contact number of the institute. Okay. And anytime if you have any doubt, any questions, you can reach.
Right. So got it. So that is the only WhatsApp number which is shared, right?
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot. I am done.
Okay. So then the contact number has been pasted in the chat box. You can reach to that number. So we'll be happy to assist you with any queries.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Ravi. Thanks. Nice to talk to you.
Sure. Okay. Any other doubt, any other questions, guys? Let me know, or else we can wind up this session.
Yeah, we can wind up if some other don't have any question.
Okay, all right. Fine. So if you have any doubt, any questions, you can reach us back anytime. So we'll be happy to assist you. And
So
also, like if you have not.
Hello, sorry for disturbing you, Ravi. Also about fee and other things, the other person will taking care, right? The other guys will take care.
That's right.
Okay.
You can talk to the coordinator. There is a number in the chat box. You can reach them, so they
Yeah.
can help you out with the fees and other things.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you. Have a good day.
Sure. All right. I don't see any questions. I really thanks for your time. Appreciate for that. Happy Independence Day. Take care then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy Independence Day to all of you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Sure. Okay. Can you send the PPT? Yes, definitely. I'll share you the PPT. Don't worry. So everything will be shared, right? So whatever the information I showcase you here, everything will be shared. Don't worry on that.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. So we'll catch up then. So please leave your contact information. So we'll be getting in touch with you for the next batches or the upcoming batch plans. Okay. All right. I don't see any questions here. Thank you so much for your time. I'll be leaving this meeting. Thank you.